Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Another terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today, and we start off not just showcasing and highlighting the excellent work of the Department of Environment, but the wonderful talent that is the team as we get a chance to welcome what they would say to their finest. Well, we'll talk to them. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thank you for joining us as we welcome from the Department of Environment, Dr. Croy McCaw and his colleague, Mr. Bradley Johnson. Gentlemen, I was just remarking prior that on the calendar it was a month ago that you were here, but it really seemed like yesterday. But even then, that was too long ago relative to the importance of the work you're doing and the significance that it has for society today, but for future generations. So I thank you and the entire team at DOE when it comes to the commitment to the environment, especially our marine environment. It's a tough job, being out there in the salt water, in the sun, seeing the fish. I mean, that's just challenging, but I'm glad that you guys are willing to do it, take it on board. Right, Dr. McCoy?
Yeah, I mean, the marine environment is a natural capital asset, I guess you can classify it as, and the fact that it's probably the only resource we have to pull on in our economy in the sense of natural resources.
And Bradley, I mean, it is, as Dr. McCoy shared, a resource that has been monetized, maybe not as much as we can as a country in order of getting, economic benefit. Others have, and I guess we see the entrepreneurial nature, but it is something that is a national treasure. It's of great recreational benefit, historical context. It is something, and just even the body of the North Sound itself. I'll ask you guys to guide me properly, but if you were to look at it, say, from an aerial photo, it looks like a big lagoon. It looks like this beautiful place that is amazing. I wish I was there now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, with the North Sound itself, it's a huge lagoon of water, but, and all of these different areas are so unique, right? That they all have certain features about it, and they're all a balance. They're all in balance, right? Things are all, they work this way. You start changing things in it, and, not understanding the context that you're changing. You can have, it's a very delicate balance. You can have some drastic effects when you start changing things. So that's why it's always important to understand the environment that you're in and understand what's going on there.
It's something not necessarily for today's discussion, but I thought it was instructive to me anyway. In looking at the information for today, I decided to step sort of literally sideways, and a couple of guys, as Caymanians growing up, relative to the same age, some from West Bay, some from North Side, some from East End, and the perspective, and I specifically asked them, growing up, what was it like? And so the North Side friend, he's looking towards West Bay, and that's why I believe he always has a smile. He's seeing the best in the West, right? But just viewing it, oh man, I probably get invited back. But just viewing it from different perspectives, you see what it is, right? And the changes that we've seen.
Yeah, human beings are the dominant species on this planet, and we have had our way with it for a very long time. And in saying that, we have shaped it to what we want it to be, and that has some very, at times, grave consequences as to function and form. And these natural capital assets, as we can call them, or marine resources, are often undervalued in the sense that because it was dear when you found it, and it's always dear. You don't really put a dollar value on it, and we're in the process of trying to do that now. But and we don't put it in a context of how socially important it is, or how ecologically important it is for function, along with the economic gains it keeps giving us, that we don't put a value on, in the sense that if it's lost, what are the consequences? And that goes back to what you just said. I remember what it was like and what it is right now. We all go through phases in our life where we see changes, but those changes are so slow. And I always use the analogy of a kid with a bag of candy. You go and take one or two, he's not going to argue with you or throw a tantrum, but you take that whole bag, you see how quickly he's going to get upset. So.
Yeah, it is, I guess, as you shared, that sort of, that whole movement sometimes over time, because it's slow and incremental. But the question is, are our actions insidious? Are we conscious or aware? Take, just as an example, and hopefully we can relate it to the idea of the group. Just take the North Sound. Over the years, phenomenal investment, great extraction of wealth from those who have leveraged the resource. But look at the impact on the water, the turbidity. There was a time when, unless I'm mistaken, you could sit by the docks during the Christmas nor'wester, and the water would barely lap at your feet. Now you'll be struggling to find a calm day. Other days, Bradley, used to be like, what's it, oil calm. You could walk on it, it was like glass. Have you seen those days in the last few years?
Yes, definitely. The climate and the weather is also changing as well. So there's a lot of different factors that influence that. The intensity of storms and things like that from a climate change perspective, that has a huge effect on it as well, and that's something that we're all still trying to understand.
Yeah, I wonder though, to some extent, and I certainly always open to learning more and hearing people's perspective. But I always look at terminology and words in the way we, ascribe certain labels, and sometimes it's semantics, and sometimes I think it's a deliberate attempt to structure the narrative. Global warming, climate change. Is it one the same? Is it a deliberate shift?
That there is often a very confusing for people, because they mix climate change or weather patterns up with climate change. And climate change is real, and it's it has dire consequences, especially for us in Cayman Islands, where we're so low-lying with sea level rise, and we have coral reefs to protect us from hurricanes and amongst other things, and the elevated temperatures create some coral bleaching, which can have consequences. We're losing our reefs in that sense, through that process, and it should be everyone's concern. We will see weather patterns where we have, colder, warmer and stuff. Don't mix that up with climate change. Climate change is gradual over a period of time that fuels these changes that we see happening, before us. But as you say, those slow incremental changes, people don't really pay attention to till it really affects them. And by then, to reverse or have a dent on that process and delaying it or reversing it is almost takes generations, several lifetimes.
Yeah. Well,
if possible.
If that was just it, if possible. And so when we come back from this break, let's look at something that is possible and maybe the positive impact we're having. Let's talk about the group of, for some of us, you know, it is one of the most beautiful fish to see as we're swimming. For others, it's like me, the snapper. It's just something about the coloring. But then the grouper, if you get to see it.
It's an iconic species of the Caribbean. And it's, we're one of the shining lights in that regard.
Yeah, well, this is why I think we get a chance to talk about it and understand some of the things. And maybe, Bradley, to you and Dr. McCoy, we'll get the listeners not just engaged and informed, but perhaps so enthused that at the end of the day, they'll appreciate that the impact that we have, can be telling. And hopefully, if it's positive, then our grandchildren could not just enjoy it, but maybe look to us and say, you know what, like our parents, we too are good stewards. I'm going to pause and take that short break. And when we come back, the phone lines are open if you want to share a thought, ask a question. Well, 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Please stay tuned.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You can now book and pay online for your certified lateral flow test at www.hsa.ky/appointment. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Certified LFTs are $25 per test per person. HSA's testing center is located at 131 Center, McClendon Drive, behind Foster's Airport. Walk-ins for certified LFTs are also available. Need a PCR test for travel? These are now only $75. Visit hsa.ky/appointment for more information.
Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square and Grand Harbor has the largest and the best collection of Hallmark and Shoebox Valentine's Day cards. Poetic cards, serious cards, seriously funny cards, fabulous cards, and the perfect card for your Valentine. Healthcare Pharmacy also has Hallmark gift boxes, brand name perfume and cologne sets, home spa kits, and quotable quotes for your Valentine. So this year, make it a perfect Valentine's Day with Healthcare Pharmacy, Grand Harbor, and Governor Square.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And in the studio, Dr. Croy McCoy and his colleague, Mr. Bradley Johnson, joins us. And I think as we look increasingly at what is happening globally, we recognize that even our actions, and sometimes inaction locally, has a telltale impact. And more of us who are consciously aware and doing something in a positive way has long-term and lasting benefits. So, Bradley, from that perspective, I mean, Dr. McCoy talked about the group of being iconic. And it is true. It's something to see. Some of us would probably, grow up with fathers who would either A, just prohibit us taking groupers for different reasons, or B, well, not this type, and not this type, not this size, not this size. And you were like, how do you know? And they seem to know. I mean, but anyway, help us to understand where we are so that we can appreciate all the things that we need to be doing.
A lot of times it's not necessarily at this time either, right? You can take it at certain times and not at other times, and there's reasons for that. That's why we have things like closed seasons in place to protect them during their most vulnerable times. Not just groupers, all species, right? A lot of the species. So we had our Group of Moon, so to speak, project last month, and one of the things we find with once we've started to study the Nassau groupers in particular is that they cue in on the full moons, right? So the full moon in particular January, February, and sometimes March. It depends on the dates of those full moons as to when the fish will aggregate or gather together. What we found is that when the full moon is typically towards the middle of each of those months, it's tough to figure out when exactly the majority of the fish are going to get together. And what we found this year is that the January full moon was actually what we call a minor month. So we didn't get the mass or the significant number of Nassau groupers showing up. So we expect that to happen in the February full moon, which is coming up next week.
But I mean, not to make light of it, but I was just thinking, in the RTIPS just recently reminded us that with the festivities coming up, the expected celebrations of the U.S. national sport, maybe the groupers were abiding by COVID regulations, and not congregating outdoors beyond the prescribed 250. Just a thought. Maybe next month those be restricted and the groupers will show up.
Well, let's hope the restrictions get lifted for next month.
There we go. Just thinking. I know some people go, he's trying to be funny. He's trying, okay?
Yeah.
So that could then, is that then a consequence of how, the lunar sort of
the lunar cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be careful how I don't want to take that from anybody else but is that part of the challenge?
Yeah, that's all part of it. I mean, we've from the years that we've been researching this, we've noticed differences, right? So you notice that when the full moon is, for example, very late in January, that's a significant number of days past the winter solstice, which is normally around December 21st. So the time that full moon in January is after that is a good indication of how significant the spawning will be that month.
Okay.
So a late moon in January is more than likely going to be the major month when all of the fish, not just the large breeders, but the small, but the younger and the new participants to the spawning site would show up. And then you'd have the majority of the spawning happening. The next month afterwards, of February, for example, you'd still have some fish showing up, but you wouldn't have the majority of them. So it'd be a minor month, is what we categorize it as.
But in the reverse, then you'll have it that February would be the majority.
We anticipate that, but however, because it's in the middle, it always makes things a bit more complicated, harder to assess and to predict.
Well, if I recall correctly from your last discussion in particular, but even prior, you have data over almost 2 decades as you've been watching this project, and when you start to count, for say like if last month would have been your expected month of a lot of fish, are we talking 1 million? Are we talking 500? I mean, what was the expected number? Do we know?
The expected number for our models for Little Cayman was between 7,000 and 8,000, and Brack around 4,000 to 5,000.
Okay.
And with it being minor month, Little Cayman was about 2,500, 3,000 max. But it's around 2,500, and Brack was about 1,500 fish.
Okay, so it's significant. So if you're looking at 7,000, 8,000, you got around 3,000. A third was what was expected.
But on the minor month, the more you say Hylophecon or more reproductive, larger fish than reproductive status fish shows up because they have the capacity. Fish are not like human beings. They can they keep reproducing the older they get, and the more valuable or the more better quality eggs you have, the larger the fish and the older the fish, unlike humans. So
I guess the Kill Club song was right then.
The reproductive capacity is much higher than the smaller ones, so they will come. Sometimes they come. And looking back on the data, we've had them come in 3 months: January, February, March.
Okay.
Twice.
So we will then look at it for the month of February, given what transpired in January, and possibly sometimes, as you said, maybe even the March as well.
We will at least verify if they showed up or not.
Okay.
And the other thing with the minor month is sometimes you actually don't get any reproductive behavior at all. There's no spawning because the numbers aren't built enough. The cues that the fish have, they don't behave the same in the minor months. So sometimes you get no spawning at all. Right? We didn't observe any spawning last month or in January. So that's, even though they showed up, there was some activity there, but it wasn't any reproduction.
Yeah, just tagging on what Bradley says, it's called a lethal effect, where the population numbers are so low that there's a lot of courtship behavior leading up to spawn, and all these cues sort of get sort of delineate spawn is going to happen. But it takes we don't know what that critical number is yet, but it takes numbers of fish behaving in a particular way, because they're normally solitary animals.
This is
and except for this event which happens once a year. So your whole reproductive population is right there at that one site.
Yeah.
And as if the numbers are low, like Bradley mentioned, there's not enough I guess you could say energy there to trigger the cues that leads up to spawn.
I was reflecting on what you shared, and I'm glad you just said, in and of itself, they're solitary creatures. And I was just casting my mind back to maybe 1 or 2 days that I did pay attention to, biology in school. In animal kingdom, we see some animals that this act of copulation is a solitary act in their lives. With the groupers, if I'm understanding what you're saying, they live solitary lives, but they come together for group activity.
Yeah, they're mass spawners, we call them. And throughout the year outside of spawn, they live alone. They have their little rock on the reef, I guess you call it, and they're territorial. I mean, they will fight off another one because they're competing for food resources. But during spawn, they all get together as a large group for reproductive purposes.
Some of the work that we did with our acoustic tags as well, where we would actually catch the fish and put acoustic transmitters in them so we could track the way they move. And we did that, and we tracked them around the reef, and we would always find the same fish in the same area on the same reef when we would do our round the island tours with the receivers, and we would always find them. That we could almost to the meter. Oh yeah, we're going to come up on this one in a minute now, and within about 2-3 minutes driving in that area, we would find the tag would pop up, so we knew the fish was there. And sure enough, when the full moon came that year, they would have left their reef and they would travel all the way down and show up at the spawning site.
Yeah, that sort of defeats the notion of that they cross abyssal depths. They don't. None of the data suggests that. We've like what Bradley mentioned, we tagged 30 on the aggregation with these acoustic tags, and we tagged 20 randomly around the island, and the only movement that they really did outside of their forage and behavior was from there to the spawning aggregation site and back. And we also fly tagged over I think was it over 900 with these temporary tags that you put into them that stays on them with a code on it, and we had divers report back, and you had close to like I think it was 4,500 or 5,000 reports, or even higher than that, and all those are specific to island, So,
well, as you listen now, we go back to stories that our fathers and grandfathers would share, almost as if they had adopted groupers in particular as pets, and they have sort of, I guess, developed an affinity. So they would go to their particular fishing place or snorkeling place, or whatever it is, and that grouper was the pet. They just watched it over years, and now that you saying that, I always, I apologize publicly, I always thought that they were just telling tales, right? Because no way that Junior was always there, and I recall a vivid story where the person said, they saw this fish, very early in life, and 10-15 years later, it's the same fish. And they watched it grow, and I thought, nah. But you see.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that really draws the grouper to the public from a diving and snorkeling aspect is that their personalities are so curious. It's almost like Croy said before, they're the puppy dogs of the sea. So that's why the divers fall in love with them, because I don't think there's another fish in the sea that you can almost go down with and make eye contact with, and they're checking you out and you're checking them out, and they can swim right up to you, and you can have that magical experience with this fish that's sitting right there looking at you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be mindful, because I don't think that was intended for the person to. I certainly don't want it to sound different, but in this story I relayed, the imagery that I have is that this has become a pet, right? And there was that interaction. And I recall some years ago when presumably, the person went out and that fish was no longer in that space.
Yeah, that happened a few years ago in Lower Cayman. There was this particular grouper on Bloody Bay, because that's drove more often than any other area in Lower Cayman. And they had names for each one at each dive site. And unfortunately, one year, this one, Ben, disappeared. And it does have an impact on, that whole sector of the dive industry, because people been coming for, a decade, or because they're long-lived species. They live, 30 years.
So as you share this, and maybe hopeful as people hear, this isn't just some academic exercise or even some exercise that will have a consequence, as it will, long term, but this is something right now. So from that perspective, are we to draw a strong inference that this is a very intelligent creature, in a sense, very personable? I mean...
Yeah, it's like a Fido, or whatever you want to call your dog. You establish a relationship with them, a friendship that you sort of grow over the years. It's an animal that has that capacity, and it also recognizes the individual. Because I've done a lot of diving in Lower Cayman on Bloody Bay, and I've gone to the aggregation site, and that same grouper will come up and follow me, and just like how a little dog will.
Yeah.
So, having said that, it's a very likable animal.
Yeah.
And per se, we've domesticated a lot of them because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm marveling at this now, because I must say up until this point I was thinking, it's a bit of exaggeration, but if Dr. McCoy said it, now we know it's scientifically true. Because just like what you were sharing, it's been relayed that this fish would follow and draw alongside. And I have this image that, the person would take the fish and pet it and talk to it, and it was surreal.
And that sort of leads in some of the work we're doing with facial recognition, where we take these we take photos using a GoPro and get as much photos as we can of the groupers, because each one is individual. It just seems your face is different from mine or Bradley's or anyone else. And so we take all these photos, and we also ask divers to photos to upload them to our website. And we just run it through computer software, facial recognition, and that's how we know, that's that particular grouper back this year and over the years.
All right. Final break of our segment, but there's so much to share, and we invite you to share with us. And I try not to become, too excited like I'm in a classroom again, because other than a library, there are very few places that are exciting.
It's fun to talk about, the research we're doing, because, you have to understand the biology and ecology of any animal to formulate a proper and purposeful management plan, which we did. So that's why we have so much data over the years. We're probably the leading institution in grouper research.
Yeah. And yet, how do we value it in our own country? All right. We'll come back, so stay tuned.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
a couple means two. Whether it's your spouse, significant other, or bestie, couples who sweat together stay together. King Sports Center is offering a gym and bowling special this Valentine period. Get 2 annual Powerhouse gym memberships for $750 starting from February 6th and ending on the 14th. Receive a free self-defense class for 2 upon purchase. At Kingpin Bowling, couples can get 2 games and 2 glasses of wine for only $40. The bowling offer is from February 11th to the 13th only. For more info, call us at 946-5464. That's 946-5464. King's Sports Center, your second home for fitness and recreation, celebrating 20 years of service.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments until February 17th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited, whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Government's new recruitment portal offers job seekers a paperless online process that makes it easy to apply for more than one job anywhere, anytime. With this step forward in our online recruitment presence, you can keep track of outstanding applications and appointments and receive notifications about your applications. Visit the careers.gov.ky portal and use the new one-stop shop for civil service recruitment to further your career.
But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. Dr. Croy McCoy and Mr. Bradley Johnson joins us, and as we talk about the Grouper Moon project, I'm hopeful that with the increase in data and all of the information you've collected over the decades, that as a country, we understand its value and importance. Dr. McCoy, I would venture to say, and again guided by you because I wanted to do so respectfully and properly, other research institutions, whether they're universities or the like, and other students, even those who are looking at postdoctoral thesis or something, would understand the importance of this information. We're a repository of some serious data and knowledge. How is that benefiting us and you and our team?
This work started from humble beginnings, I guess you could say, because when we first started back in the 90s, Bradley and I were just collecting, CPU, which catch per unit effort, and that doing the loft because the aggregation ceased to exist. And the fishermen came to us. That's why we started all that. And then it was rediscovered, and that's when all the science started that we are doing. That's led us to the management plan that's in place since 2016. However, just for instance, Florida and Bermuda closed all their Nassau grouper, fish spawn and aggregations 4 decades now, and no recovery for those. And Belize has closed all of theirs since 2003, and there's no recovery. They might have enforcement issues or compounded by management issues because it's the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef, which is way offshore. It's challenging to do that, to manage that. But Little Cayman is unique in the sense that it's really accessible. It's on the west end, so it's in the leeward side of the island. And it allowed us to do all the science that we needed, the behavior, the foraging behavior, the mating behavior, the spawning behavior, and all this stuff just to understand, as I mentioned, about the biology and ecology of the animal, and that amalgamated into having a proper management plan, which is working. The population status in BRAC has greatly improved, and Little Cayman has tripled since we started all this work. And it's as I mentioned previously, we're a shining light, and we're a glimmer of hope for other regions to do this work, and to model after what we've proven is a success story.
You just gave 3 examples, and despite the size of their abuse and the issues of enforcement aside, in our case, you indicated that we have resounding success. We're seeing the fruits of the labor. Would I be stretched in saying that in addition to the expertise and the commitment of you and your team, could a lot be done with the cooperation of success because of the cooperation of the fishermen and local population?
Yeah, they are pivotal in the success story, and I give kudos to all of the
as you
fishers.
had the last time, yes.
Yeah, especially in the sister islands for their compliance, patience, and cooperation over the years. I mean, they have been superb and in every way, that allowing us to do all this research. Because in the beginning, one of the things that the hump we had to get over is, why are you protecting these species if what you're doing making no difference? So it took over 10 years to show that what we were doing was working, and they are reaping the benefits of that now. Because outside a closed season, they can catch 5 per day per boat, whichever is less, and pending the slot size we have in there, where you don't take the young and you don't take the old, higher reproductive ones. So it's in a short form, I learned a lot from fishermen sitting talking to them, because these guys know a lot of information, and it's been passed on from generations. In the beginning, to try and understand this fish, and they know a lot. But I really got a handout to the population of fishers and people and of the Cayman Islands and everything, and making this a success.
As I listen to you, and it's great that, as you said, in the 90s, you were there just looking at the data. What's the catch looking like? And we fast forward a few decades later, seeing the benefit. But it goes back to what was probably the accepted practice of, our forefathers. They were mindful, they were responsible and respectful. Apparently, it pays well.
Yeah, I mean, they could see year after year that something was going on, and rather than just say nothing about it, that's when they approached us. That started in 86, actually, monitoring the catch data, and that was what that allowed us to do, was see the effect of the removals from these sites, because the data that we have from that, it just year after year was less and less fish, and the fish were smaller and smaller and smaller. So you just saw that pattern going to the point where some sites they just couldn't catch fish from anymore, so they stopped fishing them. Right? So that once you fish at these sites, regardless of the amount that you take out, that downward trend of less fish and smaller fish each year is inevitable, which is why we know that we have to. That's the one time that we can't remove any fish from those sites. We need to leave those fish alone there. And like Croy was saying, now that especially in the Bracken and Little Cayman, the fish are very abundant and they're much easier to catch in the open season. I don't know. He's gotten a lot of comments and people just coming up to him saying, I'm catching these fish, from shore. I haven't done this in how many years. So they're seeing the rewards for their sacrifice for not fishing them at the sites, from leaving the sites alone. They can now catch them outside of those sites in open season, which is something that ultimately that's what we have all of our laws in place for, is to try and ensure that all of our species are available for people to see when they dive, to catch when they fish, because we all like to eat conch and lobster and things like that, so we want to make sure that these are going to be there for us to eat and to see in the future. That's ultimately.
I mean, it's threefold, like Bradley was saying, for social reasons, as and also for ecological reasons. They play a huge role in the food chain as a predator. In control of. It just seems for ecological balance. If just as an analogy, you disrupt, as Bradley was mentioning, you were talking about in North Sound, any form of balance that you have in there are consequences. So these, just for instance, they keep the population of another species in check. But also then it goes up further in the food chain where above them, like the apex predators, need food also. So it not only affects what's below, but it affects what's up top. And, you know, in any imbalance of that, it really has some very dire consequences.
I was talking a lot about the food web as well. I mean, that's one of the activities when in the education program that we spearheaded. We started in 2012, and we go into the schools and sort of, you know, educate the children on the whole aspect of the grouper, Nassau grouper specifically. One of the activities that we do is a food web activity where all of the children are given a particular species, either it's algae or shrimp or a grunt or a barra, and then we connect them all with yarn, right? And then, you know, you can say, they give the example, if there's a group of kids, one of them tugs on the yarn, how, you know, who feels that, and they put their hand up. Well, all of those people that you felt, they're connected to you. So if you take that out, those other species are going to be affected. So they get to understand that it's not just one solitary fish that has no other effect. It's part of a system, and it's linked, and all of these parts have an effect on other parts you might not realize.
Yeah, that causes.
And in the fish itself too has far-reaching, you know, economic consequences, in the sense that these islands are known for diving and snorkeling, and our beautiful coral reefs and stuff, and it's a return on investment, I guess you could call it, when you have something there that people to go and see. Right. So it has that effect with.
Well, I want to invite you, you know, as a team, but any of your colleagues as well. You know, as often as it's, you know, convenient for you, and hopefully keep this message, you know, so that we understand the cause and effect. You know, to talk about one part of the yarn, how does it affect everything else? But if I might, Dr. McCoy, respectfully, maybe ask you for some closing thoughts as we conclude today's discussion.
I thought a little bit about this. I tell you, the first time I sort of wrote something down I was going to say. You know, in closing, I would like to say the population, more so in the sister islands, the Little Cayman and Brac, is doing pretty good due to our efforts from the, you know, Cayman government, DOE, and our international partners that help us with the science. Reef, Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and Oregon State, and NOAA, and a couple others. And we continue to monitor our Nassau grouper because of importance to us as socially, and more so the region also, ecologically and economically. And other islands in the Caribbean are paying close attention to the great work that we're doing and the example we're setting, and how we manage our business, I guess you could call it. And they're thinking of ways that they can replicate or model what we are doing, because we've been the only ones successful at this, you know, thus far. They've been trying for, you know, the last 30, 40 years, and as I mentioned earlier, with no success. The population seems to continue to decline in other countries. You know, we are the shining light in the region, and a glimmer of hope for other countries that they too can restore their stocks of Nassau grouper. And again, I would like to thank all the individuals who made all this come together, for their compliance, patience, and cooperation, making this a success story that we can share globally amongst all the doom and gloom of not only Nassau groupers, but fishers in general globally. But more so in the Nassau grouper status in the region. And I'll ask that they continue to do so. And lastly, I'd like to kudos to the fishers in the sister islands, as they have been brilliant in abiding by the rules and regulations for almost 2 decades now, and I'd like to really thank them for that.
All right. Thanks very much, Dr. McCoy and Mr. Johnson, to both of you. And honestly, the invitation stands, you know, to come as you wish, so that we can have this continued dialogue.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Listen, you know, we'll keep you informed, and certainly I invite you to join us for after this news break for another segment. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solons. The Health Services Authority's main phone number will be down due to scheduled maintenance this evening from 9:30 p.m. till 12:30 a.m. During this time, you can call 623-8600 for the flu hotline 925-6327 and alternatively email flu@hsa.ky. In international news, U.S. President Joe Biden has condemned a Florida bill that would ban discussion of sexual orientation in primary schools as hateful to LGBT students. Governor Ron DeSantis has signaled his backing for the measure, and it appears to have enough support to pass through the state's Republican-led legislature. Activists have dubbed it the Don't Say Gay bill and warn it will stigmatize LGBT people and issues, but its proponents say the legislation is about protecting parental rights. New fossils are challenging ideas that modern humans wiped out Neanderthals soon after arriving from Africa. A discovery of a child's tooth and stone tools in a cave in southern France suggests Homo sapiens were in Western Europe about 54,000 years ago. That is several thousands of years earlier than previously thought, indicating that the two species could have coexisted for long periods. The U.S. actor and comedian Bob Saget died after suffering an accidental blow to the head, his family has revealed. A statement said that the Full House star had accidentally hit the back of his head on something, thought nothing of it, and went to sleep. They added that authorities had concluded that drugs and alcohol were not involved in his death. Saget, aged 65, was found dead in his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, Florida, last month. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solons.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Darby Bernard Tibbetts, MBE. Bernard Tibbetts has spent his life serving the people of Kimmerbrak. In his youth, he communicated with the island's ships by radio telephone, keeping seamen in touch with their families. He later became a wireless operator and was transferred to Cable and Wireless when it took over telecommunications in the Cayman Islands. In his 45 years working in communication, he undertook private study, enabling him in his spare time to do photo processing and repair the island's cars, trucks, radios, refrigerators, and air conditioners. He also established a family retail business. He served as president of the Kimmerbrak High School PTA, director of Kimmerbrak Power and Light Company, deacon of Stake Bay Baptist Church, trustee of Little Cayman Baptist Church, and member of the Brax Hospital Building and Development Committees. In 1983, he was honored by receiving the MBE directly from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Mr. Bernard sings and plays music and has written a number of gospel songs and tracks, as well as a paper about life on Kimmerbrak before the modern era.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Kimmerbrak and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Join the Alex Panton Foundation for our 5th annual Youth Mental Health Symposium, taking place on Saturday, 19th of February from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., featuring an impressive lineup of speakers and panels discussing our theme, Thriving in Uncertain Times. This year's event will be streamed via the Alex Panton Foundation Facebook page. Visit alexpantonfoundation.ky to learn more. Sponsored in part by DART, 3T, Burger King, Popeyes, Power, and Compass Media.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. And we have an opportunity now to share with you again a very serious and sobering discussion relative to a continued partnership with the Crisis Center, as we welcome Ms. Marisha Spencer, the outreach coordinator, and her colleague, the children and youth coordinator, Ms. Livia Lopez. The idea that you have a teen dating violence awareness month, that should not necessarily exist in a civil society. But Ms. Marisha,
good
happens.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And thanks so much for having us. I think this is my first time on with you since the start of the new year. So I publicly want to say Happy New Year again.
Okay, so I want to say Happy New Year to you, and I'll endeavor to say as they say in West Bay, Happy New Year. But to your colleague, Ms. Lopez, maybe we could say it in Portuguese,
In a different language, okay.
Feliz Ano Novo, yes, you can say that.
And in Cayman Brac, they say it the same way, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
But thank you. And I would like us, maybe every time, not just you and I, but all of us, we greet people. We greet them with a sense of joy and happiness, a sense of, appreciation for life. You think back to those old black and white films, and the father rushes home to embrace the mother and the children. Nowadays, nobody rushes home because there's nothing to embrace at home, and when they come in, anyway, another story.
That's for another day.
But Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Every so often, I think it's important to draw attention to things that are challenging to talk about. I speak without hesitation to Ms. Carolina Ferreira, for instance, the Deputy Director at the Red Cross, in her continuing public championing of so many causes that I believe, but for her and her resolve, they may not be as public. But likewise, you and Ms. Livia do similarly to keep us aware. So how is, this month sort of...
Okay, so the month of February is observed as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and this is our second year in observing it. It started in the U.S. as a week, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Week in 2006, and then by 2010, Congress declared it based on, the seriousness of what was happening in dating relationship among teens. They declared it as a entire month. So it's a month-long push to raise awareness about dating abuse, and also to educate and inform about healthy relationships. So for this year, the theme is Talk About It, and it is a call to action to start having the conversation about dating abuse, not just among teens, but among parents, guardians, adults alike. So we want to have that conversation to raise more awareness of, what it is, and just get comfortable talking about it, because it's an issue that is not well talked about. So that's our aim for this year.
And certainly, Ms. Livia, through you, certainly as we go through the discussion, the idea that adolescents, we experience a lot. We're willing to explore many things, relative to subjects in school, what careers, they may want. That child at the first day of high school until the last day at graduation probably rarely would have been insistent that I'm always going to be, a talk show host and never waver. So we have many interactions and relations, as it were, the puppy love to the whichever. How do we navigate that, knowing that there is this element of aggressive, violent behavior?
Yes. So as we were saying, ideally we wouldn't be talking about this. There wouldn't be any abuse happening, but it's important to know that abuse happens also in adult relationships and also in within teens when they're dating, when they start dating. So it's important for us to talk about it, to recognize, so the teens will be able to recognize if they are in an abusive relationship. So to clarify, so we can talk about it more, dating abuse is when a pattern of controlling behavior done by one partner to another or ex-partner. So the red flags would be if your partner is extremely jealous, if he doesn't allow you to choose the clothes you want to wear, if the person wants to have all the passwords of all your social media, if there's continuous messaging, controlling where you are, what you're doing, if there is the need to be constantly with that person, if not presently through messaging, so asking many times an hour, where are you, what are you doing, who are you with, keep isolating the partner by not allowing them or asking them to not be together with other friends, other family members. So as you said, a teen is developing in different ways at school as well. So they need a person, especially when you're growing, becoming an adult, you need time to find out who you are. So you need time for yourself, for school, for your other friends, for your family, for your hobbies. Is the time to realize who you are.
Yeah, as you explore, navigate that chapter. Now, as you listed out some of those things, is it that all of those things need to be present, or a majority of them, or if there are key ones that would be indicative of this behavior?
Okay, so any form of control or coercion is considered abusive. So even if it's one form of control is present, so say for example, it's just me trying to monitor you via your social media or, just any digital communication, then that is also control. And even if it happens just once, it is still considered as unhealthy dating abuse. So it doesn't matter the frequency, it doesn't matter the type. Once there's an imbalance of the power and control dynamics, there is no equality in the relationship where power is concerned, then it is an abusive or an unhealthy relationship.
Okay. And given that we've, had an opportunity to sort of schedule this discussion, and Valentine's Day coming up, or as I say, the National Day of Chocolate, I did two things. I asked a couple of young people, with their parents' involvement, some with just casual, what is the interactions like with you and your friends? Not boyfriend, girlfriend, just the behaviors. And then I told two of them, not all of them, that I would speak to it publicly, right? And then I observed certain things. So I observed behaviors where my words, it was like a hitting behavior, and I was explaining, that's, for birthdays, and there's this thing that happened. They have a term for it. Then I specifically zeroed in on what I thought were behaviors that, these two couple. Now it was a same-sex couple as well as heterosexual couples, and I noticed the same thing. There was a hitting, not my observation, not a violent hitting, but there was this hitting exchange. Now I'm told for little children that may be a sign of way back when of a favor, but when you're a big boy and girl, the hitting isn't hitting. So I frame that in the context, is that violence or is that just a way of expressing affection? I came away lost. That's what I was going to ask.
All right, so I am going to take it from present day and work our way back. So, and I'm not calling out our Caribbean culture because I'm a proud Caribbean person, but in our culture, we tend to, I don't want to say normalize violent behaviors, but we tend to have a very high tolerance for some violent behaviors. Taking it to relationship, for example. So there's this little saying, and I've heard it, I've witnessed it myself, where people will say, if he or she doesn't hit me, they don't love me. So you can see where that thought, that idea have been nurtured from very early on. Because even when I was a child, and if, maybe a classmate or so of the opposite sex would tend to be physical towards you, they'll say, oh, it's because that person like you.
Yeah, I've never heard that,
Exactly. Oh, because they feel this way about you. They're just playing. They don't know how to communicate their feelings. And if you are not taught otherwise, then naturally you're going to grow with that very mindset. Even if you know that, this doesn't feel right. But hey, when I was younger, they said to show you care about someone is to be physical with them. So it must means that he or she loves me very much, or they don't want to lose me, and this is just their way of expressing.
Huh. I've never heard it. Have you, Miss Livia?
Yes, and the same with jealousy, right? To say if a person is jealous, it's
they
because
say,
they
because they love me, or they feel this way about me. And then you'll even have persons that say, because being in an unhealthy or an abusive relationship, right? When some persons, when they leave that relationship, because this is what they have become accustomed to, when you go over to a relationship that has the potential to be healthy, then it just doesn't work. There's a lot of conflicts because I'm not used to this. If you're not obsessing over me, if you're not calling me 24/7 a day, sending me 100 text message, you don't care. So it's how we internalize our perception of what a relationship, or what constitutes a relationship.
Interesting. And I think this is where, as you were saying, our teens' learning behavior, there may be some cultural nuances, but I don't think there will be a cognizance of the statistical impact and the psychological impact. So from what you've shared as part of this, awareness campaign, this is something that may be very evident in our society, and the statistics will be reflective of what you see in larger jurisdictions.
Yes, so last year we went to high schools here in Cayman. We're doing the same campaign this year. Last year we spoke with 303 students between 14 and 18. And we asked them a couple of questions. We asked them, do you know what is teen dating violence? Are you in a relationship currently? And we asked questions regarding the type of abuse. So we asked, is your partner ever hit you? Or have you ever sent pictures that you didn't want to, unwanted touching, those kind of things we asked them to answer to us. So the answers we got was that 29%, almost 30%, did not know, were not aware of what teen dating violence was. So that's the first thing. And then 97, so 32% were in a dating relationship. And when we asked about if they experienced dating abuse, 1 in 10 said yes, they have experienced some kind of dating abuse. And 3 in 10 said they witnessed domestic abuse in their homes as well. And going further, when we analyzing the type of abuse that they suffer, we asked about digital abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and physical abuse. Digital abuse was the highest score. So 12% of the teens witnessed digital abuse and 11.5 sexual abuse. So those numbers are very high, and we're doing the same this year. So 1 in 10 teens have experienced teen dating violence in their lives.
10%. I mean, you think of that.
And then, too, what I want to point out is that we did the survey before we started the presentation, so they would not have had, any information from us as to what this was. So there's a possibility that there were more teens who would have been experiencing it, but because they don't know what it is, then they would not have been able to give, the correct response. And that is one of the reasons why we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it.
I would venture that perhaps not even as parents trying to have this communication, or as even educators, but even the adolescents themselves, this is probably in absence of appreciating this is a normal, accepted, healthy behavior. And they themselves, Livia, have a challenge with it, especially when they see that as being, what is transpiring around them, that interaction.
Yes, when we do the presentations, we get a lot of questions with them saying, if this happened, is it abuse? Or if that happened? So we see they're open to learn and understand more. So to have this open communication at home, or with like here coming to the radio to talk about it, we are going to school to talk about it. If parents at home are open to discuss, having an open conversation on what are the characteristics of an unhealthy relationship versus unhealthy relationship, we can also talk about what is a healthy relationship, what does a healthy relationship looks like, and so they can think about in their relationships with other people. It can be a partner, but we're talking about teen dating violence today, but it can also be the relationships they have with their peers, because it's also based on respect and communication and all those skills that we have when we're having a relationship with a partner as well.
All right. Well, we're speaking to the Crisis Center Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Marisha Spencer and our colleague Livia Lopez are our guests. Ladies, we do have a caller online. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very well. And you?
I'm doing okay.
It's good to hear you.
I appreciate the topic. I know it's a challenging one, but definitely one that we can no longer keep under the palm tree, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a trend going along, particularly on social media, called positive toxicity. And I wonder if your panel could make any connection to that. Because one thing I'm noticing is there's a lot of the belief that to see the positive side of things. However, sometimes that seems a bit detrimental. And a lot of people take it as more of self-blame, to say that, okay, it must be them because everyone else is seeing things around them as okay. Another thing that you guys mentioned that I really appreciate is the fact that it's one time is enough. You don't have to wait around for things to become habit-forming. And I know for a lot of people, I mean, I'm not a child, but I know for myself, I put up with an awful lot from a lot of adults thinking that, they just don't know any better, making excuses for them. And I think children repeat the pattern they see in their parents, whether it's the mother or the father. So I'm a little concerned for that, and I'm glad you guys are continuing to raise awareness. And also, I'd like you to comment on the positive toxicity going on social media.
Thanks very much. And again, a very informed listener who's instructive in the comments. Ms. Marisha?
So the toxic positivity, I wanted to mention something about it. It's when we, as she was saying, trying to make things look good, not going in depth on the problem, trying to hide what is the issue, and saying, that's common, that happens anyway, and not looking at the issue. So it's being overly positive about something that is not. That's a topic that needs to be discussed. And the other point that she mentioned was the role models in our lives. She mentioned the families and other relationships. So especially growing with teenagers growing up, from kids, teenagers to adulthood, the relationships they have around them, it's extremely important. And whatever they see, they learn. So even at home or at school, the way we talk to children will affect how they will put themselves in relationships. So if they're always treated with respect, if they're always heard, they won't be easily put in an abusive relationship, because they know that's not how people should be treating me, should be speaking to me. So if a person is belittling you or is being abusive verbally, you already know that's not how we're supposed to talk to another person, so this relationship is not healthy. If you're always used to be blamed or cursed at and things like that, not heard, not treated with respect, if you're in a relationship with a partner and a person is not listening to you, not hearing your point of view, you think, that happens everywhere as well, so that's normal, that's how it's supposed to be. So the way we talk to the children and teenagers, and the way our role models in relationships, it's key for them to learn. They learn from what they see. So having healthy relationships around them is what will prevent.
And adding to that also, Olivia, and thanks so much to the caller, for raising those very crucial issues. This is it. So when it comes on to abusive relationship, you will have those persons who take the stand. So what they do is to compare the type of abuse and the severity based on their perception. So here it is, a teen is going to say to you, you know, my partner spoke to me in this way and I felt a little uncomfortable, and they have concerns. They want to talk about this. The person who is, you know, responding to them will say, oh, but at least he or she did not hit you. So because I was not hit, then, oh yeah, everything is okay, because it could have been worse. And that mindset where it's always, it could have been worse, sometimes is the very reason why we stay in unhealthy situations, because here it is, you are making a comparison to your situation versus what is considered to be the norm. And if I am not experiencing the norm, which is most person think is physical abuse, then everything is okay.
So how do we address? I mean, for some listening, they would think, what, it should be obvious, you know, that this isn't healthy. And even in as you shared, even when the norm around you is this thing. But Ms. Livia,
yes, there's also something called the cycle of abuse. So it doesn't happen all at once. It gradually happens. So, and it's important to catch it at the beginning. So it starts with maybe, oh, I like you so much, I would like you to stay with me, rather than do something else, rather than see your friends, or saying, oh, I care about you. I don't think that person has your best interest, talking about a close friend of your partner. So it starts like this, like I care about you. I want what's best for you. But then in a way, the abuser will isolate the person and it will continue. So then it becomes, maybe it starts with verbal abuse, then becomes digital, controlling your passwords, then it becomes maybe physical or sexual. So there's also this aspect of it, and it doesn't happen all the time. So you have the good phase, which we call the honeymoon phase, then the tension starts to build up, so you think this person, something might happen, and then the explosion, the abuse happens. But then again, the person will apologize and everything will be good again, and then you go to the honeymoon phase again. Maybe there's a gift, maybe there's apologies, and so it gradually, as in a cycle, it gradually becomes worse and worse.
So in addition to the education, so that people are, conscious, they're aware, is it then, and recognizing that we are speaking to adolescents and even someone that's, more mature, may sometimes struggle with proper discernment, but is it then that we need to rely on the quote-unquote maturity of that person to this friendship between, one of your friends, let's say it is your special friend, who's saying, this person over here really is a bad influence. We can give some examples that would probably indicative of that being, as opposed to when they're saying, well, this person doesn't have your best interest, so, you should not. That individual to whom that's being conveyed now needs to be able to have some level of discernment as to whether or not this is controlling, whether this is good instruction that you don't want to hear.
I think the problem, too, Sterling, is when we're having conversations, we tend to be very limited in our scope of reasoning. So if I'm going to say to a teen, I don't think you should be speaking to that boy or that girl, he or she's not good for you, and you put a full stop there and the sentence ends there. You really have not said anything to me. I need to know why. Is it that you are of this persuasion? Why do you think that this person is not good for me? And with that explanation, trying to create a differentiation, then, with a level of understanding, then that teen would be able to now see beyond just this person not being good for me, but why this person is not good for me and what it is that I should expect. Especially, when it comes on to relationships. So we need to go beyond just the surface, and we tend to cover things a lot. So something happens, oh, that was unfortunate, just don't go there again, don't speak to that person. You push it under the mat and you keep it stepping and pretend as if everything is okay. Everything is not okay. We need to be talking about the core of the issues. And the thing too is there is the level of discomfort. People are uncomfortable speaking about these things, and these are the very issues that is causing a decay in our society, the issues that we need to be talking about.
Well, I certainly recognize that these discussions can, for some, strike a nerve, as it were, but it's good that we are able to talk about it publicly. As we look to future discussions, as we close out today's, Ms. Livia, what are the salient points? What do you want, as the sort of the children youth coordinator, but as we are now probably speaking as much to parents and adults who are interacting and engaging with their children as teachers, parents, coaches and the like. What do you want them to be minded?
So following the theme of this year, talk about it. So important thing is to know that your teen will be having a dating relationship at some point. And not trying to avoid it, say, no, my teen is never going to do it, never going to go out with anyone. It might be happening at the moment. So having an open conversation with your teenager about what is dating, how does it look like, what is a healthy relationship, first of all, having this, opening up this space where the teen can feel comfortable with the parent or a trusted adult to talk about it in general. Then role modeling, yes. So how do you want your teens, other people to treat your teens? With respect, with open communication, teaching them communication skills, non-aggressive communication skills, how to be assertive, how to say no. It's okay to say no. We have to teach the children and teens to say no. Sometimes we say, oh, just do this. And if the teen doesn't feel comfortable, they'll say no. But then sometimes some parents feel they'll push the person to do it and not listen to their voice. So give voice to your teenager and to your child. And so outside of the house, they'll be able to say no as well when something is bothering them. When they feel uncomfortable at some situation, they'll say, no, I don't want this. I feel uncomfortable. So they'll be able to voice it. And also try to give them those words, the voice, how would they be able to say? So have this conversation saying, if something happens to you and you feel uncomfortable, you can say, stop, I feel uncomfortable, I don't want this to continue. And so they'll be able to be assertive outside of their house as well.
And I just want to follow up with Livia. The parents, in having the conversation, I am aware, and adults, just adults alike, I am aware that you yourself may not have an idea of what healthy relationships are, or you are not even in a healthy relationship, because as the survey says, 3 in 10 witness abuse in their home. We want them to know that there is support available. You can get the help. It's not too late. You can get the help. If you, as you're experiencing abuse, then you may not feel at the place to speak to your teen about their relationship, especially if they're seeing you being in an abusive relationship. The crisis center is there to support you. If it's assistance that you need with parenting education, just how to be an effective parent, how to have these conversations, the Family Resource Center offers a comprehensive parenting education program that, you can capitalize on. So the support is there. There's absolutely no excuse not to be having the conversation because the support is there. I understand at first you may not know how to, but the help is there to empower you to start having these conversations.
Thank you both, and I appreciate the continued effort, and the invitation to join us remains. Hopefully we have these frequent discussions.
Yes.
Ms. Spencer, Ms. Lopez, enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me, and to all your listeners.
All right, so it's the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month as part of the Crisis Center. Continue outreach and education. So let's ensure that we provide good examples, but engage with children in particular in healthy relations. We're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, sort of focusing in a very positive, artistic, creative way on our children. We're going to have a discussion about the 2022 National Children Festival of the Arts. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven roasted chicken, Black Forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky. Subway, eat fresh.
As the longest established pensions plan in the Cayman Islands, the Chamber Pension Plan looks forward to delivering the same strong performance for our members, but now in a new location. As of March 1st, our new pensions operation office is located at 14 Saturn Close, Eastern Avenue, the same building as our new administrator's agent, Saxon Administration Limited. A dedicated and experienced team will be assigned to the Chamber Pension Plan. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky, and for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. New location, new administrator's agent, new customer service, same strong performance.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we get a chance now to, I guess, most important through the Department of Education Services, a chance to talk about the upcoming NCFA. And, thinking back to it, I think there's some of us who will probably remember the very first, offering of it. It was probably almost on the eve of the royal visit. It was probably, on that time where there was a passage of a particular hurricane. A lot of things happened in that year. And some of us were tanned and tall, muscular. Remember, Fran? So in the studio, we have Miss Gloria Bell together with Miss Nikki Samuels and Miss Fran McConvey. Perhaps, Miss Gloria, from that perspective, thinking back to those first few years of the NCFA, it was an interesting time developing sort of attempt at the fine arts, as it were. Right?
Yes, it was. I joined in 1991. So when I came, it was 9 years in the running.
Yeah.
But it started in 82.
I remember having to go to listen. I wasn't too inclined to participate. I set up the chairs and moved them up, but that was about it. We all know our strengths. But with that, though, the NCFA has been in the running now for, short order. It'll be a century before we know. Come on, do the math.
40 years, come on.
See, I tell you, in short order,
years.
it'll be a century.
We're celebrating 40 years.
Well, I was here from 1984, so I remember when I first came, it was the Kiwanis that ran the festival back then. And Kay Lato was the primary school music teacher. So we used Loyola Hall, and that was the festival. It was interesting. So it changed over the years. So after Kay left, Stephanie Williams, and we started a slightly different kind of festival. But I remember in the very first festival that I went to, which would have been 84, some of the little children from Northside were quite scared, and they hid behind the curtains when there was time to come on to play. And the teacher was excellent. But in the end, they turned their backs, so they did their performance with their backs to the audience. But they were very good. And it's things have changed and progressed a lot, especially instrumental music. We've got so much more going on nowadays.
Yeah.
And so...
There's something, and I'm glad that you'll help us to go down this sort of, memory lane, as it were, right? I remember either as parents or as teachers, again, my perception, sort of saying to the students, even though you're going to be singing as either part of a choral group or a small ensemble, they stood almost at attention. There was no moving arms or hands, and they sang, and I thought, oh, this is church. Sorry. Miss Gloria, I should
No,
be.
that has evolved over time.
But it has
now
evolved.
They move.
No, they move.
And they sway.
Yeah.
No.
Just like the church. I mean, it's time to. but is that because, and I said to Miss Fran's point, that maybe because of this activity, more and more of our students are becoming conscious of public engagement, performing, and they're not as shy. Whatever little nerves that we feel, I think, are good. Because every day I come here, I do this job. There's still a sense of nervous excitement and energy. For me, it's sort of respect of trying to make sure that we do it right. You guys feel welcome and accommodated. But think to some of these very young ones. I mean, we're talking primary school students as well.
And the earlier they start at school, that's where the confidence building develops, And in a lot of schools, they have assemblies, so the kids are used to coming out, saying a poem, cheering an event or something. So,
and I think you have to put some credit with a lot of our Caribbean teachers who come and they've experienced festival, and they will move with the kids and get them doing things, which is great. So it's not in the schools, in the primary schools particularly. It's not just the music teacher who's working with the students. It's a whole effort of the school. Yeah. So you have most schools have at least one teacher who's expert at getting the kids moving and using good diction and expression.
It's interesting you shared that. Several occasions, one in particular, I think it was at the Georgetown Chapel Church. They were using the facility there, and if I'm not mistaken, it might have actually been inside the sanctuary itself. A few educators just saying, I can tell probably what school this is by listening to the song and listening to the way it's
tone quality and everything.
Yeah. And she was amazing. She just do the program, and she was turning it back as it came up, right? And she could hear it.
Could tell,
it's interesting. So to your point, that Ms. Fran, that idea that we are instrumental and instructive, but we're also very influential on what is selected, how it is. So for the listening public, could then we get a perspective on two things? One, we're probably talking about close, maybe 30 schools in almost all the schools across the entire country. Being invited to participate?
Yeah, invited to participate, yes. But this year, how many we had? We have about, 16 schools?
A little bit more than that.
Yeah, a little bit more, about 16 to 18 schools.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course then there's the festival in the BRAC as well.
Right.
Yes.
So the 3 schools in the BRAC.
So that they make so-called about 20 schools this year who are really participating fully.
And there's a cross-section of areas that they can participate in. So it doesn't have to be performing where it's a drama piece or a vocal piece. It can be a written piece, or it can be art and so forth. Yeah. So quite a few schools that aren't able to participate physically in the event are doing submissions for other elements that we have. Because you have, of course, what's trending in the schools at the moment.
Yeah. So let me ask, and very, very mindful that I certainly don't want it to be any other than the most respectful, but recognizing that, as you said, what's trending in the schools, I like the way you Hey, you know what?
Positive outlook on COVID.
I like the way she puts it. What's trending now? We have to make certain adjustments to ensure that we are as best as possible, safety conscious. With the past, we would expect, to go, and as the festival have grown, we've seen where some years there was quite a larger number, as parents and their supporters come in particular.
Last year was huge, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I stand in room only.
Yeah, you were there. And we had to have double venues for one. Yeah, 3 venues one day to have adjudication.
That speaks to not just the interest, but the importance of the performing arts, as it were, for our children. So with this year, whether it's the in-person adjudication or it's the submission via video, any concerns of how, like, I'm one of those people who would prefer to attend class and hear the lecture as opposed to watch a video. I'd rather read than to watch the video. I don't like videos. In case we missed that one. Would that influence or affect somehow the quality of the production, the adjudication? Not the objectivity and the professionalism, but sometimes, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but then, Ms. Fran, I see you contemplating.
Well, I was just saying to Miss Gloria outside that I was really congratulating her because we're going to do something this year which is a little bit different, but in actual fact it has a lot of positives going forward. And in the festival, which is next week, all of the solos will be videoed
as well
properly, and then the schools with the larger ensembles, the videographer will go into the schools. So in having the same videographer, we will be able to put together
a virtual concert in terms of the awardees.
There is that benefit,
And then we have it for going forward. The other thing is we have it in the archive. We have a real record of what the children are doing. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could go back in time and have it for every year that we...
But we've seen that with, sadly, in hindsight. I mean, take up productions at a Harpwheel, for instance, how many times would we wish we had recorded or birthdays or weddings or other things, we just didn't think of it. It wasn't as important as you should for posterity, but I wonder now, that...
We have fallen short over the years because we have videotaped some, not all, but we were forced with this hybrid model to ensure that videotaping was done. I mean, even though we had face-to-face adjudications, we are still going to videotape those. So we could see, everything will be videotaped. So we can have them archived,
It's quite exciting. We did a video Year 7 concert this year, and which is normally a concert that we would do with the children when they come into Year 7 for the parents, but we did it as a video. But the exciting thing is you can go back then when they graduate and play parts of it. I can just imagine at the beginning of the graduation, as everybody's sitting waiting, we'll be watching the Year 7 concert of the same children who are then graduating. I mean, how exciting is that? It's a really, it's a real positive.
Look, they be a picture though.
And I want to give a high five to the SciFEC students and the creative media students at SciFEC. We visited them this morning, and I was so excited. They would be doing the daily videoing of the face-to-face adjudications, and in Cayman Brac we have the creative media students of Layman Scott High School. They'll be doing both. They'll be doing the large groups as well as the face-to-face adjudication. So our students, it gives them an opportunity to really take part in a real life work work production, and they're all excited about education. It. Yes, all education. So
this is where I keep thinking increasingly how important it is. Many of us enjoyed what was called drama class. Back then we liked it. We were clowning around perhaps, but it was good because it demonstrated that person was a little more comfortable going up on the stage or in front of the class. How many of us as professionals, even in our capacity where we speak, asked to give a toast, at a very special engagement, kind of feel a little bit, nervous. All right, when we come back from this break, let's talk more about it, get the listeners a better perspective, perhaps on some of the different categories that we're looking at. Maybe share with us some past experiences and hopefully extend what we see as expectations. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we ask you to please rejoin us.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Health City at Cayman Bay. Open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 12 noon to 4 p.m. Sunday. Now offering confirmatory PCR tests free of charge at our testing center 2 doors down. Our friendly and professional care teams offer a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Cayman Bay Clinic and PCR test results within 4 hours. We are here to help you save time and feel better. Health City at Cayman Bay. World-class healthcare at a convenient location within your reach.
As seniors, we owe it to each other to stay safe and healthy through this pandemic. Let's make sure that our COVID-19 vaccinations are up to date, including getting boosters, and be aware of your surroundings so that we can manage the conditions that make us more vulnerable. Remember, we're in this together, so do your part. Get boosted. You can visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus to learn some more.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as we invite you to be a part of the National Children Festivals, Festival of the Hearts. 1982 was when we got our start. So together with Ms. Gloria Bell, Ms. Fran McConvey, and Ms. Nikki Samuels. Ladies, thanks very much for coming on, because many times when we think of activities that involve our children, it's a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics that goes in, a lot of excitement for the parent, the teacher, but the child as well. And then their nerves on the day. Get our listeners the perspective of what sort of categories, we're looking at. We're talking about the performing arts. So, Ms. Nikki, would that fall to you?
Okay, yes, hi, good afternoon. So there's quite a large variety that you can participate in. So if, like yourself, they don't really want to stand in front of a crowd of their peers, there are written pieces that you can submit. There are the art and craft exhibition that we have that will be taking place at the National Gallery week after next, starting on the 21st. We have our opening, and it will be hosted through the week. We then have, as well, different things that you can do. So if you're a drama person, you can do a drama piece with your classmates, or you can do your solo piece. There's speech items that you can do, dance, any vocals as a group, individually, just any way, any form of expression. And we're open. Sometimes we have been approached by schools that the piece might be not exactly fitting into the boxes that are here, and we are open to receive different forms.
This is the creative expressiveness that we need. And there are some of us with the question of poetry or short stories, or they may be adept at singing or playing an instrument. How, if I may ask, or perhaps respectful, through Ms. Fran, as sort of the music instructor, and you're preparing for exams, you're doing instruction throughout the day, you have all other things, but the NCFA is coming up. It's on the calendar, and are there special things that you pull up with particular students in order to prepare?
Yes, and I think for something like NCFA, which is a competition, you have to be quite careful about the music that you're choosing. Some pieces are lovely, but they're very deadly in public. You need something with a little bit of a punch, not too long. You have to think about whether it's appropriate for the children, if it's a vocal piece. There's an awful lot of thought that has to go into the right piece, and the right piece then is much more likely to get a better award or better viewing from the public. It's not the same as doing an exam or doing music that you're learning as you go along, or even for a Christmas concert. The NCFA has got to be more of a showpiece. And so even with the students that you're teaching, you might be doing an exam with a child, but none of the pieces that they're doing are really appropriate. So you really have to think about it in advance in order to do well.
So with that, then, the selection is as much the teacher instructor as it is Hey, Johnny, this would be a good piece for you.
In the past, we've had quite a lot of set pieces, and the set pieces are great, especially for the primary schools, choirs, and the primary particularly, because there's a number of primary schools. It is quite difficult for the teachers, because at the moment the competition is early in the year after Christmas, so everybody's busy doing Christmas. So to do those set pieces takes a little bit of time. So it's a sort of, I'm not sure whether we're going the right way with just having choice, the just free choice, or whether we should go back to set pieces. I'm not sure, but that's how it is.
And I would imagine that from the sort of assessment perspective, to use a better word, if there are set pieces and every school in this category will be doing this thing, you're comparing apples and apples. If they are varying
that's the
pieces.
thinking.
Yes, but the nice thing then is that everybody's interpretation is different. Of course, that kind of backfires a little bit. We had the steel pan competition last year, and we did have some set pieces but of course, and yes, everybody's was different within the set piece. However, Mr. Lapierre was teaching nearly all of the bands, so it kind of was a little
similar style right across, and I don't think the audience really, enjoyed it. So I think we have to change our focus this year.
I'm glad you referenced that too, because it speaks a lot to the availability of the resources we have, not just the space to accommodate the children who interest may be growing, or the amount of instruments, for instance, but the personnel. If you've got one teacher that is expected to teach, it's only one person. I mean, I can be everywhere, but not at the same time, right?
So I don't know how he does it, but he seemed to be in all the schools at the same time.
He has a chauffeur.
I don't know, but
I think he uses the helicopter to get this. But I think this is where the public now. I know that we're in the midst of what we're in, and so there are limitations. But this is not just able to be viewed as you leverage the technology online and but for those who want to be a part of it, you have a lot of different venues that are going to be utilizing against this time.
Yeah, I think we're using more John Gray. We had the privilege of opening the John Gray Performing Arts Centre.
I'm so excited about this.
Thank you. We want to say thanks to the John Gray High School.
This is the inauguration of our new Performing
Arts Centre,
which is state of the art, and it is the most. It's going to be the best performance centre in Cayman.
Yes, and it's free.
You have to come and see.
Yeah, venues really cost a lot of money, but it's free.
Yeah, well, what they say, the best money government can spend.
And
that goes across
money
all.
Well spent.
Yeah, man.
And then we're using the Hartwell for the speech performances. So it's just John Gray performing and Hartwell.
Now, we had a listener. I should go back to see the message, because we had a reference what was coming up. If they want to schedule, if that's the word to use, which events and which venues, is that available somewhere?
Yeah, we put it on our website. Yes, we put it on the ministry's website. You can put it on, and in schools, because we sent out the schedule to schools, so all schools have.
However, the public are not going to be able to come this time because of COVID.
Yeah.
But we live stream. We will live stream. GIS is trying to work with us so at least they can see the performances.
Yeah, so that's going to be some limitations too. So even the indoor, we're not having the maximum limit of 100. We're not.
No, because the facility is not yet complete, John Gray. So it's still a construction site.
It's a work in progress.
So we have to be careful. So they're just allowing us to use it through the back door. So we can't entertain any
access. Well, membership has its privileges. But okay, all right. So we have the news break, and then when we come back, I want you to share with us as much as you wish, because I think this is where we start to appreciate the importance of the performing arts. As we look at, giving the child as much academic instruction, we recognize it's also important that the child gets physical activity. And now with the arts, they create that, as Ms. Gloria talked about, that needed balance in the child, because it's not just for them now, but for them later on. I mean, Mr. Duxley, Mr. Radley, you can imagine them assembled with family just on an evening, just enjoy the company, as Miss Fran would probably do. She serenades the rest of us. All right. We're going to pause and take that break. When we come back, more talk today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. With the Super Bowl taking place this coming Sunday, February 13th, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service reminds members of the public and owners of establishments of the public health regulations currently in force. Persons are reminded that gathering limits remain at 100 persons in an indoor venue and 250 persons at an outdoor location, not including members of staff. Owners of venues found exceeding these limits are liable on prosecution to a fine of $10,000 or imprisonment for 2 years. In international news, price rises in the U.S. accelerated by more than expected last month, pushing annual inflation up to 7.5%, the highest rate since 1982. Food and energy costs helped to drive the increases, which left few spending categories untouched. The rising prices are squeezing household finances as wages fail to keep pace. Washington is under pressure to address the issue with the U.S. Central Bank, expected to raise interest rates. A Russian art gallery guard has been accused of doodling on a Soviet-era painting he was responsible for guarding on his first day in the job. During a visit to the Yeltsin Center in December, 2 visitors spotted eyes drawn in ballpoint pen on Anna Leporskaya's work, 3 Figures. The avant-garde painting features 3 abstract and usually eyeless figures. The security guard has since been fired, and the police have opened a criminal investigation. U.S. rapper and entrepreneur Snoop Dogg has acquired Death Row Records, the label that launched his career. The Californian hip-hop star shot to fame following the Death Row release of the 1993 hit debut album. Snoop Dogg said the move was a, quote, extremely meaningful moment for me, and he was looking forward to building the next chapter of the record label. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon, welcome back. Thanks for joining us as we talk about the National Children's Festival of the Arts, the NCFA. Ms. Gloria Bell, Ms. Tika Samuels, and Ms. Fran McConvey are our guests. And if I might, through you and be guided by you, ensure that my thinking is, not too far. I feel when we think of the performing arts, or we think of the arts in general, the development, Ms. Fran, what that does for the person, in the young years, but older in life. I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely. I think, and the number of young people who've done so well on our island, who came through the music programs and sang in school choirs, is phenomenal. It really goes hands in hand with academics and helps children to focus, work as a team, helps them to be more, express themselves. And everybody who wants to employ somebody wants somebody who has got a, sense of confidence and can get out there. It's enormous, the educational value of music. It can't be understated.
Without question. It does a lot. I mean,
And of course the other arts.
So yeah, I mean, not just music.
I heard all the arts. I didn't just
all the arts.
That's what she meant. No, but we do have a caller online. We have in the studio Ms. Fran McConvey, Nikki Samuels, and Ms. Gloria Bell. Let's go to the phones and join and welcome this caller. Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I was listening a little bit there, and I heard, I guess it was Fran mention the Kiwanis Club of 7 Mile Beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Loxley.
And I think that is an aspect of this whole, and maybe can we call it a musical institution that has evolved over since 1984. So how many years is that? That's what,
82.
Since 1982.
Yeah, it was
100 years, I think.
yeah.
40 years.
That ages me.
It's been lost in the evolution of that activity that before the Kiwanis Club, and it was the Kiwanis Club of 7 Mile Beach, before they started to develop that, I think we called it, I forget what the name was, what we called it, but the school participation in the musical presentation of whatever they could come up with. There was really nothing going on here as far as school musical participation, or very little, should I say. I'm thinking back. I think that Dr. Randy Von Cannell might have, by that time, started the Triple C band. I believe
there was. And it's hard to do. There was when I first came to the island in '84, there was a Triple C band. It wasn't Randy. There was also a marching band at John Gray that used to march up and down Walker's Road. There was, I can't remember the teacher's name. Was it Everett? He was
Chris
only there
Everett.
for.
Just Everett.
You remember? Okay, so he was only there for the first 2 years that I was there, and then the teacher that came after that didn't do the marching band, but they used to march. I mean, you couldn't do it now because of the traffic, but that was their marching practice up and down Walker's Road, and they were quite good. There weren't any strings. It was only Triple C and John Gray that had any band at all. Wesleyan developed their band program, which was fantastic after that. But then, as this is what always happens on a small place, it's very dependent on the individuals. They just happen to have some really good band leaders at that point. But yes, Triple C and John Gray, definitely.
Mr. Loxley, sir.
Sorry.
Yes, sir? All right. There you go, Ms. Fran. Mr. Loxley, you there, sir?
Still there, yeah.
Okay, sorry, yeah, Ms. Fran.
It must have, it could have been that the marching band there that spun the Kiwanis Club into starting to develop this showcase for the local musicians. And I believe that we ran it, that is the Kiwanis Club of 7 Mile Beach, ran it for about 5 years. And then it really got too big for us to because everybody, we were all volunteers. And I think we asked the education department to come in and help us, and they eventually, sort of said, well, give it to us and we'll.
And hats off to the Kiwanis. And the Kiwanis also provided trophies, I seem to remember. So it was.
How was that?
It was very nice when I first came. Much smaller, but it was quite nice because we had a lot of class groups that would, lots of individual classes would come and do their little bit with their xylophone and singing and class music.
I think the work that the Kiwanis Club did, that is the Kiwanis Club of 7 Mile Beach, because there is a Kiwanis Club still in Cayman, but Mile Beach was kind of dissolved. I think in the mid '90s, did a lot of community work back there in the late '70s and up through probably the early '90s. At one time, the Kiwanis Club was constructing, however you want to call it, health facilities, outdoor health facilities for homes that didn't have any bathrooms.
Wow.
We were digging pits.
And building houses. I seem to remember, was it Lucy Ebanks's house that was rebuilt down in town?
Right, yes.
Miss Lucy's house.
And I think of one of the members that we had. In fact, one of them just passed away within the last 8, 10, 12 weeks. But there was another one that we had, and he was a sort of carpenter, and everything that we would suggest within the meeting that we could do as far as carpentry, and then his comment was, yeah, bam, 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 we got it. and we wound up calling him Bam Bam.
Those means a pagoda.
It's so much of the Caymanian culture, the heritage and history that is buried somewhere that never sees the light of day. And I think as a whole community, there has to be a lot more done to really, make this known to those who come to live among us, and that we were not, the island was not what most people think about it. And I'll say this, and I'll get off. But in the early days, we had a process going with the University of Alabama, where for quite a number of years they sent their news people or journalists, people down here as sort of field trips. And I remember one group came, actually it was the first group that came down. We had them at Radio Cayman for basically all the time. And I overheard one of them, or I overheard them discussing after they'd been here a couple of days, saying, gee, and this is paraphrasing, gee, we thought we would come down here to see people in grass huts, but these people here at Radio Cayman got more technology and more, whatever you want to call it, professionalism than the people up at the Big Bomb in Alabama. And the Big Bomb was one of the biggest and most listened to radio stations in the Southeast United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, and like I say, no more has to be done about bringing the history and the culture and the heritage up to the surface where everybody can share in it or be aware of it, so that when they come in here, they don't think same thing as what I just repeated, that these students were thinking that they were coming here to see us in grass shacks.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, and I guess that reminds me, the importance of this. So thank you very much, sir, for sharing our thought.
All right, good now.
Have a wonderful afternoon. And that speak to what Ms. Fran was saying earlier. There's a lot of potential here. We just need to tap into it, hone it, harness it, and respect it.
I just want to add something in terms of the importance of the arts and seeing how our students have developed over the years. We have people like Janelle Tibbetts, Eric Nicholson, who all, started with NTFA, Nicole Barnett, and today we have Eric and Janelle assisting us with adjudications. We have Jonathan George. They're the ones who are assisting us. So the whole idea is not to be, just depending on, those who have been there over the years, or even bringing in overseas adjudicators. But we have started using our own,
But maybe that's part
homegrown people.
Yeah, part of what we need to do more is that to give that, just like the primary school student from Northside, maybe the first time up on stage, a bit of nerves, but to the adult who may be competent but isn't as comfortable in front of this, maybe have not had sufficient exposure and experience. And how do you do this? It's always the first time to do something, right? And hopefully the more you do it, the better you get at it.
The more natural it becomes.
Yeah, it becomes part of you. Even with dance, Dr. Lawrence has given us 2 of her students who work with UCCI, so they'll be adjudicating this year. Right. So we're not strapped at all in any way.
I don't think that we are looking at the resource that we have within our shores.
We do have resources,
and this is where I think, despite the challenges that we may have, I like how as Gloria says, hybrid approach.
It's a hybrid version.
Yeah. Hybridize.
We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. All right. So when we return, we'll continue our discussion as we, look forward and excitedly extend the invitation to be a part of this year's NCFA. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
You can now book and pay online for your certified lateral flow test at www.hsa.ky/appointment. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Certified LFTs are $25 per test per person. HSA's testing center is located at 131 Center, McClendon Drive, behind Foster's Airport. Walk-ins for certified LFTs are also available. Need a PCR test for travel? These are now only $75. Visit hsa.ky/appointment for more information.
Due to the high number of COVID cases in the community, Water Authority Cayman is encouraging customers to conduct as much business as possible online or over the phone and avoid coming into the office. Need to pay a bill? You can do it online. Just visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, and click on the Pay My Bill button. Are you experiencing service issues? Contact our customer service team via the phone on 949-2837 or email info@waterauthority.ky. Don't forget to practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently with soap and water. For updates from the Water Authority, visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, and our social media pages.
Valentine's Day is on Monday, and Saturday night at 8 o'clock, you're invited to tune in to your Yesteryear Musicals Special Valentine's Day Edition. That's Saturday, 8 p.m. on Breeze Radio, your Yesteryear Musical Special Valentine's Day Edition.
CUC advises customers on Water Key Road in Cayman Kai that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Tuesday, February 15th between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Areas affected include all of Water Key Road and Finger Key. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing Water Key Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area and will be required to temporarily block one lane on sections of this road. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And in the studio, Miss Gloria Bell, together with Miss Nikki Samuels and Miss Fran McConvey, to talk about this year's sort of offering of the National Children's Festival of the Arts. And well, maybe we can ask you to help us to appreciate that this is, well, one, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's a lot of hands on deck. But before we get there, when is it sort of taking place? Where, again, remind us, and how long is it going to be going on? And Ms. Nikki?
Yes. So the NCFA takes place next week. Everything will take place next week. All of our solo pieces will be done face-to-face during that week, of the 14th through the 18th, and all of the pieces that have a couple of kids involved, in order to keep them in their bubbles, they will be filmed in their particular schools, and a schedule has gone out to the schools for that. And then the following week, we'll have our opening our art exhibition. But just to revert back to next week, although we would love for parents to be there to support, unfortunately, as you can appreciate with the restrictions and the requirements in place. What's trending now that we can't afford that. So what we're doing is, like Ms. Bell said, we're working to have the students from SciFec taping the pieces for us, and additionally we're looking at trying to live stream, so to provide some sort of access for parents. The following week we open our art exhibition at the Cayman Islands National Gallery. The staff there have been so incredible. It opens on the 21st of February through the 4th of March.
4th of March. They're giving us 2 weeks exhibition.
Yes. And they've been so supportive of what they're doing there. Then we have, unfortunately, this year we are not having any final concerts like we normally do with our selected gold pieces for obvious reasons, the trending. And but we will be compiling, thanks to assistance from our SciFec students and their media department, and our Lehman Scott students and their media department, we will be having virtual concerts that will be accessible to all. And after that, there will be the Butterfield Young Musician of the Year that will take place on the 2nd of April. And then the Cayman Islands National Bank Amin Mohammed Steel Pan Festival, which happens on the 9th of April. Ms. Bell, some of these pieces are actually sponsors. We have incredible sponsors that have stuck on board. From time they came on board, they just stayed. So I
CNB's one of them.
Pass it over to Ms. Bell to make special mention of those
I
sponsors.
must say, for the past, 16 years, CNB has been sponsoring the Amin Mohammed Steel Band Festival. And hats off to them, they increased their sponsorship award from $2,500 to $4,000 this week. So thanks to CNB for showing their commitment to development of the arts in our schools.
Thank you, CNB.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And we're happy to be exhibiting at the National Gallery. We always did it at the library, but I don't know, for whatever reason, we feel so special this year that the gallery was able to take us.
Because unfortunately, the library is not hosting any events at this time.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, in terms of, you want to list Wednesday, what's happening Tuesday, Wednesday, right through?
Okay. So on Monday, the 14th of February, we have all of our vocal solos. So the primaries will take place in the morning, and then the secondary in the afternoon. This will happen at the
New John Gray Performance
Arts. She's so proud when she says that. She beams.
You see that? And the Cheshire Cat.
And then on the Tuesday, we are going to start with the instrumental solos for our KS1 and KS2, which is our primary students. That will also be at the
John Gray Performance Centre.
And then on Wednesday, we have our speech solos for all students, from primary straight through to secondary. Those will take place at the Harkwell Theatre. On Thursday, we go back to
John Gray
for the instrumental ensembles and bands. Now, this is a program that is sponsored by
Cayman. The Cayman Islands Credit Union.
Yes, and they as well have been on board for quite a number of years. After the ensembles and bands on the Thursday, we end our week on the Friday the 18th at the John Gray Performing Arts Center with our wonderful drama pieces in the morning. And then in the afternoon, our beautiful dancers will take the stage. And then the following week, we meet at the Cayman Islands National Gallery on the 21st at 4:30 p.m. for the opening of our art exhibition. From what feedback we've had from the schools, we are excited to see. Yes, if it is what we're expecting, it's going to be an incredible showcase of pieces. Yeah. The schools have really been busy, which is incredible, especially during this period. Then we have a little break with our midterm breaks, and on the 2nd of April, our selected students who have performed extremely well, our secondary students perform extremely well in the instrumental solos. We actually select some students who will compete for the title, really, of Young Musician of the Year. And that will take place on Saturday, 2nd of April back at the
John Gray Performance Centre.
Yes. And then we end with a bang on the 9th of April, on that Saturday night at the John Gray Gymnasium with our Cayman National Amin Mohammed Steel Pan Festival.
You know, a wonderful time. I mean, we're thinking, you know, of course we got some breaks there for schools, but this is February, you know, and we're going into April. So for that sort of season of performing arts, we've got a lot on offer. And I'm hoping the public will be able to, maybe by then some things will have already changed. We see in Europe, the provinces in Canada, states in the US, you know, making some adjustments, you know, prayerfully. Maybe we'll be that safer place and we can do likewise, huh?
And you were correct, there were already 30 schools, 19 primary and 11 secondary.
Is that what it was?
You did your homework.
I thought you were speaking towards the numbers that were actually participating, because some schools are not able to participate in different elements, but they are submitting like you know, art pieces or a literary piece.
So overall, we have 30, which I think is quite a good number, considering what is trending.
Exactly.
So although they can't physically be with us next week, the 14th through the 18th, we are inviting them to the art exhibition opening, and also inviting them to bring their children throughout those 2 weeks to visit at the National Gallery and just explore.
Yeah, because the last week is midterm break, so kids will be home, so parents can organize and take them to the gallery.
I think while they're there, it's a wonderful place to visit. A lot of good things there, man.
And because of the numbers and the space that we'll be using, we are looking at the Butterfield Young Musician of the Year and the CMB Amin Mohammed Steel Pan Competition actually being events that you can physically attend. Fingers crossed that things remain the same.
I prayerfully, you know, join you and hopeful that that'll be the case. And I'm positive, you know.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. And those are, I think, opportunities for us as a wider community to really appreciate the fundamental, you know, talent, the immense talent, Ms. Fran. I mean, we see it all the time. Just need to be more respectful and resourceful and, you know, getting the children involved. I don't know. I commend you, you know, from a distance. I observe and realize the commitment. I appreciate that it takes a lot, because that child we're trying to develop, not just to pass, you know, as parents, I believe as much as anybody else, you need to get good grades in, you know, this subject, this subject. But thankfully we start to appreciate that it's all subjects. Could I perhaps invite some closing thoughts, perhaps first to you, Ms. Fran, if you wish to share anything, and then Ms. Nikki, and then Ms. Gloria.
I think hats off to Ms. Gloria and Ms. Nikki and the committee for actually getting this going this year. There was a lot of talk about putting it off to later or changing things, but I think they're doing absolutely the right thing. I like the idea of all the recording that's going to go on, and recording the bigger bands and choirs off-site. That's great, and the children are going to be able to see each other perform just as they would normally. I think it will be great to be able for the children to watch at school themselves and see other groups performing as well, and how well they do. So hats off to you guys.
Hats off to you too.
Yes.
Because you were part of the initial discussion.
Well, initial.
And the initial discussion.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, so I join Ms. McConvey and I second her thoughts. I also want to add to what you said, and I think Ms. McConvey also said it earlier in the evening, that oftentimes we look at the academics and we look at the sports and we look at the arts and see them as three separate things, and not realizing that they each complement each other and each help each other. So like Ms. McConvey was saying, the concentration, the communication, be able to express yourself and things like that. All of those things that you get through doing the performing arts and doing the sports and so forth really do push you academically forward. Because if you look at how students that go forward in the music perform academically, there is a correlation.
Definitely.
And how they're achieving.
It's working as a team as well. Whichever arts you're involved with, it's that teamwork. And you know, when students are older, what they remember, they'll come back and say, I remember when we went and did this, or when we performed this. These are the things which stick out. These are the real learning experiences of childhood.
Ms. Gloria, this is where the team makes the dream. Huh?
Yeah. In closing, I want to endorse what both have said, that the development of the arts is critical in developing the whole person. And I know we have heavy emphasis on the academics, but we felt it was important that despite what is trending, we need to make sure this happens this year. We had it last year, so we made sure. So that's why we came up, with the initial discussions and decided we'll do a hybrid version and not deprive of our children of this opportunity. Because what happened, was it last year we had it? No. I remember with Spelling Bee, we missed out with primary for 2 years. And when we had it last year, we saw the effects. So I think it's rather than just omit having it because of what is trending, it's important that we ensure that we have these events so our children will continue to develop and get the best out of it. So
well, I appreciate the continued commitment, and I hope as a community that not only in every endeavor we are always respectful and mindful of each other's safety, but we draw alongside and value the importance. I mean, to Ms. Bell's comment, 1 year absence from the spelling bee affects. We know our educators tell us that over the summer, if our children are not engaged, we can see them drop in grade levels. Right? So, to perhaps their inability to socialize, to engage, interact, what is that doing for their overall health, well-being, and development? And now that they can see, perhaps through the videos, their peers, maybe that'll inspire them, but they still need to physically engage. So we're in this together from the sense that we can't let tyrants and tyranners be the thing. So
no invaders coming in.
There you go.
Not at all.
I ain't going home. What's the song is called?
What? We ain't going home.
And thank you for your support.
Yeah, just about as excellent. Thanks for having us.
Always an honor. I say this sincerely. Thank you.
Yes, advertising the event for us. So.
I know we all have particular paths that we traverse now. That the public face is one thing, but the personal space is another. And to each of you, I praise and continue love and support as you move forward with a purpose and a presence.
Thank you very much.
I tell you, man, I would say something, but Ms. Bell, I'll leave that for now.
Thank you, sir.
Well, tomorrow, please come back, join Mr. Loxley and myself for a wonderful production. He is a man of an indomitable spirit, and of course, Friday is that day where we get to celebrate it. But his Saturday evening musical, we want you to be mindful of that too. We'll tell you about that tomorrow. But join the day with Mr. Art in the morning for the record. And give Miss Susan some company. Call her and tell her to change the song she's going to play. But if not, just listen up, because there's going to be beautiful music to take you into the afternoon. So stay tuned for all that Radio Cayman has to offer.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.